The house stood silent, as if holding its breath after years of watching and waiting. Dust clung to the corners of picture frames, where smiles once lived and laughter had long faded. I had returned home for one simple reason: to collect the remaining papers of my late husband. But the moment I stepped through the door, I felt something shift. The air was heavier, the silence sharper. Every creak of the floorboards seemed to whisper secrets I wasn't meant to hear. Grief had brought me back, but curiosity, uneasy and uninvited, kept me from leaving. I thought I was here to gather what was left of his life. I didn't know I was about to uncover what had been hidden from mine. Loss changes the landscape of life in ways words rarely capture. When someone we love leaves this world, it is not just their absence we mourn, but the quiet reshaping of everything familiar. Every object, every room, every photograph becomes a relic of something we once believed would last forever. Returning home, especially after the death of a loved one, is more than a physical act. It is a confrontation with memory itself. It is walking into spaces that know your laughter and your sorrow, and finding that both now echo differently. For many, the passing of a spouse marks a shift between two worlds, the one lived together and the one left behind. The papers, the belongings, the unfinished letters, they all stand as fragments of a shared existence, as if time has paused just long enough to let us decide what to do with what remains. But sometimes, in that fragile process of sorting through the past, we find that the truth we thought we knew was never the whole story. Grief has a strange way of revealing what love once hid. In the solitude that follows loss, the mind begins to wander through forgotten corridors, both literal and emotional. We start to see what was overlooked, to hear what was never said, and to sense the subtle fractures that ran beneath the surface of the life we built. When I returned home to gather my late husband's papers, I thought I was coming for closure. Instead, I began uncovering the layers of a story that stretched beyond what I had been told. Families are built on stories, some shared openly, others buried to protect or preserve. Every secret, every omission, is a thread in the fabric of family history, and when one thread is pulled, the whole tapestry begins to shift. What I found within those papers was more than signatures and dates. It was evidence of choices, of fears, of quiet betrayals made in the name of love or self-preservation. The discovery was not just about deceit, it was about the complexity of human nature, the ways in which people hide pieces of themselves even from those they hold closest. Life, in its rawest form, is not a perfect narrative. It is a series of overlapping truths, some beautiful, some unbearable. The more we seek clarity, the more we realize that understanding the past means accepting that perfection never existed. What defines us is not the secrets we uncover, but the strength we find in facing them. Returning home after loss forces us to look at who we were, who we loved, and who we are becoming in the aftermath. There is a certain stillness that comes when the noise of grief begins to fade and the truth begins to speak. It is in that stillness that life reveals its most profound lesson. That even when the foundation cracks, even when the world shifts beneath us, the act of seeking understanding is itself a kind of rebirth. Life often unfolds in ways that test the boundaries of what we think we understand. When we return to the places that once defined us, we are met not just with memories, but with the ghosts of who we used to be. In the aftermath of loss, every step through a familiar doorway feels different, every shadow feels like a reminder of what time has taken away. Returning home for the remnants of a life once shared is never simply about gathering belongings. It is about confronting what remains when love, routine, and certainty have all faded into silence. There is something almost sacred about touching the objects left behind. The handwriting on a folded note, the scent of an old coat, the hum of a clock that still keeps time as if nothing has changed. These are the fragments through which we attempt to reconstruct meaning, to make sense of absence. But life has a way of folding truth into quiet corners. What we uncover in those moments is not always what we expect. Sometimes it is not comfort that greets us, but revelation, an uncomfortable reminder that love and honesty do not always coexist as cleanly as we imagine. In the rhythm of daily living, people often hide their truths behind kindness, fear, or necessity. A husband may carry a secret to protect the ones he loves, a son may withhold a truth to preserve his mother's peace, a family may build its harmony on silent compromises. These choices, invisible in the moment, weave themselves into the architecture of our lives. And then, one day, something shifts, a letter is found, a conversation overheard, and the illusion of stability begins to unravel. It is in that unraveling that we come face to face with the fragile nature of understanding. Returning home after death forces the living to see what has always existed in the periphery. The walls seem to whisper in ways they never did before. Every object becomes a question, every memory an echo asking to be reinterpreted. Grief opens the door to truth, and truth rarely arrives gently. Yet within that discomfort lies something deeply human, the realization that every family, every life, is a collection of secrets stitched together with love, shame, hope, and forgiveness. Life's most profound moments rarely happen in the grand gestures we expect. They unfold quietly, in the turning of a key, in the discovery of a hidden file, in the stillness of a house that has outlived its laughter. What we find in those moments often changes the way we see everything that came before. The past, once solid and comforting, becomes fluid, something that reshapes itself in light of what we now know. And as we move through those revelations, we begin to understand that truth, no matter how painful, carries within it the possibility of clarity, and perhaps, the faintest beginnings of peace. Life has a way of leading us back to the places we thought we had left behind. Sometimes it happens quietly, almost by accident, and other times it pulls us in with a force that feels inescapable. Returning home after loss is one of those moments. Passage between what was and what remains. The air feels heavier, the silence deeper, as if the walls themselves are aware of what has changed. We come back searching for closure, for the familiar comfort of memory, but instead we often find that the past still breathes beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. When someone dies, their absence does not simply erase them. It lingers in textures, in spaces, in the smallest details we once overlooked. Sorting through their belongings becomes a ritual of remembrance and discovery. Each paper, each letter, each folded corner tells a story of who they were and what they chose to keep hidden. In those moments, we are reminded that a person's life is never entirely visible, not even to the ones who love them most. There are layers of truth tucked within routine, choices made quietly, and moments that were never meant to be known. The discovery of family secrets, especially after death, can alter the way we see everything. What once felt certain becomes blurred. We begin to question what love really means when it exists alongside silence or deception. Yet these revelations do not always come from malice. Sometimes they are born from protection, from fear, or from the human need to control what cannot be controlled. Life, in all its complexity, teaches us that even good intentions can leave deep scars. And when the truth finally surfaces, it asks not only to be understood but also to be faced with compassion. Every family carries its own version of a story untold. It may be a decision made years ago, a secret passed between generations, or a truth buried beneath loyalty. These are the quiet forces that shape our lives without us realizing it. When they come to light, they challenge the foundation we've built our memories on. Returning home becomes more than an act of remembrance, it becomes a reckoning with identity. We are forced to see ourselves not only as children, spouses, or parents, but as individuals navigating the fragile balance between what we inherit and what we choose to become. In that fragile space between grief and discovery, life reveals one of its most profound truths: that understanding does not always bring comfort and closure is rarely clean. The pain of revelation exists alongside the beauty of knowing. What we uncover can hurt, but it can also free us. It reminds us that every life, no matter how ordinary it seems, holds within it a hidden story, one that waits, quietly, for the moment we are finally ready to listen. Life rarely unfolds in straight lines. It moves in cycles, returning us to moments we thought we had escaped, to places that hold both comfort and pain. Coming home after loss is one of those turning points, where the weight of the past presses against the fragility of the present. It is a return not just to walls and furniture, but to echoes, memories suspended in air, waiting to be acknowledged. Every step across the threshold feels like a conversation with time itself, a quiet reminder that even when people leave, their presence lingers in the spaces they once filled. In the stillness of an empty house, life feels magnified. The smallest details begin to speak: photograph half faded from sunlight, a familiar scent that drifts through a room, a forgotten note left tucked between old documents. These fragments tell stories we never finished listening to. What begins as a search for closure can quickly turn into something else entirely, a journey through layers of truth we never knew existed. Each discovery, no matter how small, reshapes the way we remember. Grief opens our eyes in ways comfort never could. It forces us to see that love, memory, and truth are often intertwined in complicated ways. Every life leaves behind traces of choices, some born from love, others from fear, and many from the quiet compromises that define human relationships. When we uncover something unexpected, it can feel like betrayal, but it can also reveal the depth of what it means to be human. People hide truths not always to deceive, but sometimes to protect, to maintain peace, or to shield others from pain. And yet, in the long run, secrets have a way of surfacing. The silence that once kept things together begins to unravel, and what's left is a mosaic of the real and the imagined, the spoken and the unspoken. In returning home for what we think are mere belongings, we often find the unfinished story of our own lives waiting for us. We see how love evolves, how relationships shift under the weight of time, and how easily we mistake familiarity for understanding. Family is a reflection of this paradox, bound by affection, yet separated by the truths we withhold. When we discover what was hidden, it doesn't just change how we see the past, it forces us to reconsider the present. The people we thought we knew become more complex, more human, and perhaps more fragile. Life teaches that truth is rarely simple, and closure is not something we find. It's something we create in the aftermath of discovery. Every revelation holds a mirror to who we are and who we have been avoiding becoming. Returning home after loss becomes more than an act of remembrance. It becomes a moment of reckoning, a point where the known and the unknown meet, and where the quiet weight of understanding begins to reshape everything we once believed to be certain. Life often brings us back to places we thought we had left behind, places that hold fragments of who we used to be. Returning home after loss feels like walking through layers of memory, each one more fragile than the last. The air carries a weight that can't be seen but can be felt in every step, every breath. Grief does not greet us loudly. It waits in silence, tucked between old photographs and forgotten drawers. What begins as a journey to retrieve a few papers becomes something far deeper, an encounter with the unseen truths that linger long after a person is gone. In every life, there are rooms we avoid opening, both literal and emotional. They are the spaces where the past rests quietly, untouched by time. When loss enters our lives, those doors begin to call to us, asking to be opened, to be faced. The objects left behind, letters, documents, fragments of routine, become pieces of a story we thought we already knew. Each item carries a trace of intention, a hidden message from the life that once filled the house. And sometimes, in searching for closure, we stumble upon a different kind of truth, one that challenges what we believed about the people we loved. Human beings are complex architects of secrecy and love. We hide parts of ourselves not only out of fear or shame, but also out of care. There is a quiet human instinct to protect those we love from pain, even if it means weaving small deceptions into the fabric of daily life. Yet, as time passes, these small threads begin to form patterns. When they finally surface, they can change everything. Discovering a hidden truth after loss is like finding a second version of the same person, a version we never met while they were alive. It forces us to see them not just as a husband, a parent, or a companion, but as an individual shaped by choices we never knew existed. Life, in its unpredictable rhythm, constantly teaches us that truth and love are rarely separate. They coexist in tension, each one testing the limits of the other. When we uncover secrets within our families, it does not only alter our understanding of those who came before us, it reshapes our understanding of ourselves. The grief we carry becomes intertwined with a strange kind of clarity. Pain and understanding arrive together, demanding that we look deeper, that we accept that love is never as simple as it seems. Returning home for something as ordinary as a set of papers becomes a mirror for life itself. We arrive thinking we are collecting what's left, yet we leave realizing that what's been found has changed us. The journey through loss and discovery reveals how fragile truth can be, how love can endure even after it's been tested, and how the past continues to speak long after the people within it have fallen silent. There comes a moment, after the grief has quieted and the truth has settled, when the air around you feels different. The heaviness that once clung to every corner begins to lift, not because the pain is gone, but because it has found its place. Standing in that house for the final time, surrounded by the remnants of a shared life, I understood that closure is not about finding every answer. It is about learning to live with the ones that will never come. The documents I had returned for no longer felt like paper, they felt like symbols of something larger. A life, a history, a story that had finally revealed its missing chapter. The discovery of my family's secret did not erase the love that once existed. It simply transformed it, made it more honest, more human. For so long I had believed love meant knowing everything about the people closest to me. But love, I've learned, is not the absence of secrets. It is the grace to hold truth and forgiveness in the same breath. My husband's choices, my son's silence, my own blindness, they were all threads in the same tapestry, imperfect, tangled, but real. That realization did not undo the hurt, but it softened it, giving me a strange sense of peace I had not expected to find. Life, I've come to see, is built from contrasts, joy and sorrow, truth and illusion, beginnings and endings, all coexisting, all shaping the person we become. Returning home had felt like reopening an old wound, but in the process, it became an awakening. The pain forced me to look at the fragility of human connection, to understand that even the strongest bonds are made of moments, some shared openly, others lived quietly in the spaces between words. We spend our lives believing that love should be pure and flawless, yet it is its imperfections that make it enduring. As I closed the last drawer and turned the key in the door, the house no longer felt like a monument to loss. It felt like a witness, silent, patient, and eternal. It had seen everything: the laughter, the arguments, the dreams, and the regrets. And now, it stood as a keeper of truths that had finally been spoken. Walking away, I realized that what we uncover in others often leads us back to ourselves. The search for understanding is never really about them. It is about the parts of us that long to be seen, forgiven, and set free. There is no perfect ending to a life, no clear line between what was and what remains. What exists instead is transformation. The pain that once felt unbearable becomes part of the foundation on which a new kind of strength is built. The silence that once haunted begins to comfort. The past does not disappear, it evolves, shaping the way we see, the way we love, and the way we continue forward. And in that quiet evolution, in that surrender to both truth and loss, we find something that feels a lot like peace.